Hi everyone, Jessica here from Paper Ink Stamp and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we're going to be doing another one sheet wonder, and this time I'm going to be creating 6 A6 cards. The first thing I'm going to do is create my card bases. Now I don't make a lot of, well, if any, A6 size cards, but I really wanted to give this a go because you can get 2 A6 cards from a sheet of A4 cardstock. So this is the Crafter's Companion all-purpose card, and I'll admit I trimmed this down just to make things easier when it comes to matte and layering and what the measurements need to be. So I've taken the A4 sheet and I've just trimmed this down to 11.5 inches by 8 inches. That means then my finished cards are going to be 4 by 5 3/4 inches. So I wanted to make side folding cards. So you've seen that I got out my EK Tools scoreboard, and then I scored these right down the middle lengthways at 4 inches. So this is 4 inches wide, and then I can trim this down to 5 3/4 inches tall. Again, depending on how you fold it as to whether it's a side folding card or a top folding card. But if you're not really bothered necessarily about kind of the mat and layers, again, I just did this to make things easier for myself. So I literally can just do 1/4 inch increments for my mats and layers, again, just to make things a little bit easier for myself. So like I said, I'm going to be creating 6 cards. So I've already done 2 cards in preparation, and you can see then I'm just creating the other 4 card bases here. This is a really great cardstock for creating the card bases. Like I said, it is a good weight. So I'm going to be using a 12 by 12 inch piece of patterned paper. It is double-sided, like I said, and this is an older paper from Stampin' Up. I think it was the Forever Flourishing, I think it was, and to be honest, I just pulled it off my shelf just to kind of get through those papers and things, and I am actually going to pair it with one of their stamps because I did buy it as a bundle quite a while ago. So in terms of trimming down this piece of patterned paper, so we're going to be getting 6 panels. Like I said, you're going to end up with, it's 1.5 inches off the side and the top that is going to be left over, but we can use those then in others as well. So I'm trimming this down. It's going to be 3.5 inches by 5 1/4 inch, and that will give me then 6 of these panels to go on my card. So basically I've got my card size is going to be, or is 4 by 5 3/4 inch. My first mat is going to be 3 3/4 by 5.5 inches, and then my panel is going to be 3.5 inch by 5 1/4 inch, and you can see that here. So now we can go ahead and cut our panels. So the reason why I've said this is the easiest one sheet wonder certainly that I've ever done, and that's because we're basically just cutting into the panels, and we're going to use the fact that it's a double-sided paper to our advantage here. So we're not going to end up with lots of strips and different shapes and things and trying to make cards that way. Basically what we're doing here is just cutting into the panel. We're going to turn one of them over to reveal the pattern that's on the other side. So for my first card here, my first panel, I've measured 4 inches. So we've got this top piece, and then I'm going to flip this bottom strip over, and again it's going to measure exactly the same on our card base, but you've got those 2 different papers on there. For cards 2 and 3, I'm putting the patterns together. You've seen that I just lined them up to make sure that they were nicely on top of each other, and I'm just going to cut this at a diagonal. To be honest, I didn't measure this at all. The most important thing when doing these is to make sure you've got the 2 patterns facing together, otherwise you'll end up with the same pattern together. But you can see when I put it here, I've got one of the patterns at the top and the other pattern at the bottom, and they still fit together perfectly. So again, a really quick and simple way to do the one sheet wonder, and you haven't got tons of thinking really to try and you know, work out how you're going to use all of your strips and your different shapes and things. So for card number 4, I'm simply just going to cut this in half. So I'm doing this I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with this one. I was thinking about doing it as a landscape, but my pattern I felt didn't really work with that. But I've trimmed this down to 1 3/4, and again I'm just rotating that one piece, and it's given us a really lovely look. on to panel number 5, card number 5. We're going to do this into 4 panels here, again, just for something slightly different. So I'm going to trim this in half lengthways to begin with. So we're cutting this at 1 3/4 inches. Then I'm going to put my 2 strips together and then I'm going to trim this to 4 inches from the top. So that's going to leave us a nice kind of longer piece, and then you've got a nice shorter piece at the bottom. So again, then I'm going to cut this to 4 inches. You really can make this up. This is pretty much just what I've done here. I haven't followed anything. You can just do probably whatever works best with your patterned paper, I would say. So you can really make the most of being able to see those pieces. So you can see I'm just doing opposites with the pattern paper and just flipping it over. And again, like I said, this is what's great then about using the double-sided papers. But I will tell you in a moment how you can just use 2 pieces of cardstock if you wanted to do that, especially if you only have a single-sided as well. So for my last card here, I'm going to do a really tiny strip on the end. I'm going to cut this to 2 3/4. So again, we do just have that small piece. And again, think about how big your pattern is. So with this particular design here, you know, these leaves are quite big. So I want to make sure that I don't just have tons of white space, that you can see some of those leaves in there. And you can see then we've got that nice big piece with the bolder green design, and then we have that really small slither there of that cardstock. I don't end up using it this way, I end up doing it my original way, as you can see there. And basically that is then all of my panels cut down. So again, a super easy way of using the one sheet wonder, using up your, it doesn't have to just be 12 by 12s either. You can do it with different size patterned papers as well. If you want to do papers that are only single-sided, you can simply just cut up 2 pieces of 12 by 12s. You'll be able to make 12 cards that way as well. Just pick 2 pieces that go together nicely. You might also want to use a patterned paper and a plain cardstock, like a coloured cardstock, if you wanted to as well. You really can sort of mix and match this. It's a great way of using up your paper pads here. So I've cut some of my cardstock down. So again, just to remind you, these mats here are 3 3/4 by 5.5 inch, and these are the Craft Perfect. This is the tan brown colour. I didn't want to go too much with the greens and things. I wanted to use a different colour that really helped it stand out, and again, something that went against that really busy green there. So I'm just using my Nuvo Deluxe glue here. So a little bit of liquid glue is really great for this because it means then you can just get it in the right position. You want everything to line back up again. So what I'm doing is lining it up where I think the sort of edge of where I want this to be. You know, if I was putting a whole panel down, I'm kind of working out where that edge would be, and I'm really then just buddying up this patterned paper to make sure there's no gaps in between. And again, liquid glue is great for that because it gives you that little bit of wiggle room. So just popping all of my pieces down. These cards came together really quickly. If you need some emergency cards to have on hand, if you want to create a gift set for somebody of, you know, handmade cards, again, this is great. And doing it in this kind of production line way is brilliant. I do find that this is, for me, this is the quickest way of creating cards. This is how I used to do it when I made wedding invitations. You know, you just do a production line where you do everything at once. So I made all my card bases, I trimmed all my panels down, I trimmed then these patterned papers down, and then I'm just gluing it all together. So again, we're going to use some decoration and have some sentiments on these. They're going to be some really simple but really quite effective cards, I think. So this is really the first time that I've created A6 size cards. Like you've seen, you can get 2 card bases from 1 sheet of A4 cardstock, and that really is the equivalent of the US A2 size. I really love that size card. I think it's nice because it's slightly squarer, but it's difficult then to buy products to kind of fill it, and then envelopes and things like that. So I'm definitely going to be exploring this A6 size again, because we are here in the UK. It's easier to get products that actually fit fit with this card size. So that was all of my panels. So I've glued them all down, ready for some decoration. So I've taken the coordinating stamp set and die set that go with these papers. So again, it was called Forever Fern or Forever Flourish or something like that. And I've already stamped all the same using this stamp set and the Frayed Burlap Distress Oxide. I thought again that was nice. It didn't sort of stand out too much because I really wanted that paper to kind of stand up a lot more. So I've stamped 6 of these onto some Nina cardstock here, and I'm just using the coordinating die to die cut all of these. And then each one, again, is going to get roughly the same kind of decoration with the same design on it. But again, because they're all going to be the same, it makes things much easier to create sets of cards like this, and you're creating them a lot quicker. So now we can go ahead and create our sentiments. Again, I'm doing the exact same thing in almost like a production, and I want everyone to have a different sentiment on it. This is a really old stamp set that I bought back when I first started crafting, and I'm really sorry to say that I did buy some stamp sets off of Wish. I know they are pretty much rip-offs of like genuine stamp sets, but at the time I really didn't have a lot of money to be sort of spending on things, and you know, I was kind of just getting into it, so I don't really use any of those products that I still have in my stash, but this particular stamp set had lots of different sentiments, and I thought it would work really well with these set of cards, and it meant then every card was different. It had a different sentiment on it, so I can kind of put it together as a little pack. And I have stamped this onto, I think it was some ivory or cream Craft Perfect cardstock. I've just trimmed it up, and I've taken a small stitched circle nesting die. These are the Heffy Doodle circles. I really like these with that stitch detail. I use these a lot in my card making and my commission work as well. And I'm just cutting these out using my Gemini mini die cutting machine. Again, so I wanted to just have a small kind of focal stamp sentiment on these cards, and again, because they would be kept together as a pack, they don't have to have the same sentiments, but I really didn't want to have to go rooting around, to be honest, to find lots of different sentiments to cover different occasions. So we've got happy birthday, good luck, thank you, get well soon, we've got a love you card, and a sending hugs as well. So I'm just die cutting the last of these sentiments out, and then again we're ready to assemble all of these pieces together. So again, very much like a production line, like I've said through this video. So what I'm going to do is pop some glue behind just that middle section of the stamp and a foam pad onto the back of our sentiment. And basically I'm just going to slightly overlap them a little bit. Again, I'm not thinking too much about where I'm putting it, but I am overlapping them, and I am putting it somewhere along the join of the different patterned papers as well. So again, just varying the designs. I mean, these, by the time they get sent out to people, like actually written on, you know, they're not going to be going to the same person, so it doesn't matter, they don't have to match entirely, but it is nice to have like to gift a set of cards and have them all kind of be basically the same. But again, like I said, these cards took me no more than an hour to create from start to finish, and that was creating the card bases, the mats and layers, again, everything, stamping, die cutting, and assembly then as well. You could add more to this. We're going to do a little bit of embellishment with some Nuvo drops as well, but you know, you could ramp these up if you wanted to, add more decorations to them, like a nice piece of ribbon or a nice bow would be quite nice. You could add foam pad or foam tape, sorry, to the back to add dimension to that card base, but yeah, I just tried to keep it as simple as possible. The only downside I have with this is the fact that I don't have any envelopes for A6 at the moment, so either I can make some or I can just buy a pack if I wanted to. But again, I really like the idea of creating coloured card bases as well. I don't think the Craft Perfect is quite thick enough. I think it's about 216, so it would be, the front of it would be okay by the time you added your mats and layers. I would then probably be inclined to add a panel on the inside as well, just to help strengthen that inside. I think this Crafter's Companion all-purpose cardstock is about 300 GSM. That's why I picked this one up, and it does seem like a genuinely really good cardstock here, so I'm definitely going to be using these for card bases. And you know, it says all-purpose, so you know, I can, or multi-purpose, so I really can use this for whatever I need. So as I said, the last thing I'm going to do is just add a little bit of decoration with some Nuvo drops on here, and that's pretty much going to be these cards finished. Again, I would urge you to give this a go if you have some 12 by 12 patterned paper, again, or even if you have some smaller pads. I do have a bunch of pads, so maybe I might try this again and see how we can build it together, and use different sized pads to build A6 cards as well. So because I got quite a bit of pattern paper, so it'd be nice to get through those. If you're interested in the Nuvo drops I am using, this is the vintage drops. I'm just having a look. Yeah, vintage drops, and this is the colour Pumice stone as well. So again, this is going to match in with the Pumice stone, the frayed burlap that I use to stamp those leaves in the background. And that's pretty much these cards all finished. So I hope you did enjoy this tutorial. Let me know if you do have a go at doing this. Again, I urge you, it's super easy to do, and I think these cards turned out absolutely brilliantly. So if you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up and help to support my channel and help it to grow. I am definitely back now, and we are going back you know, to work creating these videos for you guys. So I just want to thank you for your patience and continuing to watch my videos. If you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. That's it for today. Thanks very much for watching, and happy crafting.